When we give a document to other people to make changes, often we want to track the changes that they've made to that document so that they don't go unnoticed. Track Changes is available under the Review tab in the ribbon. When you go to the Review tab, you'll see there's an entire group dedicated to tracking. Now, the first thing we need to do is to set up our name so that any changes we make are clearly identified as having been made by yourself. If I go to the Tracking group and I click the Tracking dialog box launcher, I can get into the Track Change options. From here, I can click the Change Username button and I can make sure that my name appears correctly in the username field and that my initials appear correctly as well, so people can easily identify it was me who made the changes to the document. So check your name is set up correctly and go OK. The other thing you can do besides setting up your name is actually customize the options with regards to Track Changes. If I go into Advanced Options, I'm able to say how I want insertions to appear. Anything inserted into this document will automatically appear underlined and a unique colour will be assigned to each author, though you are able to set a specific colour to anything that's inserted. The same with deletions. If anything's deleted in this document, it'll be having a strike through and it'll be assigned a unique colour by author because there might be more than one person making changes to this document. A little change line will appear in the outside border to indicate that a change has been made. Also, if anything's been moved, it will be tracked. If anything's been done as far as inserting cells or deleting cells or merging or splitting cells in a table, it'll be tracked. Any formatting will also be tracked and a unique colour will be assigned to each author. And balloons will also appear in the right margin with a connecting line, and they'll be about 9.4 centimetres. So you can change anything that's in there. For example, if I didn't want to track the formatting, I just take this tick off. But I do want to track the formatting, and I'll go OK. What you can also do back here is you can show any insertions and deletions, any formatting changes, and you can decide if you want to see balloons or not. Now, I might show you what balloons are all about by setting this to all revisions. So I'm going to show balloons in the all markup view for revisions. And if I wanted to, I could turn on the reviewing pane, but I'll leave that for later. So I'm just going to click OK. So set up your username and set up your Track Changes options. Now we need to turn the Track Changes on, and there's a variety of ways to do this. First of all, you could click this button, Track Changes, and that's turned on the Track Changes and turns off the Track Changes. You could hit the Track Changes drop down and turn on the Track Changes this way, and notice also Control-Shift-E is a quick way to turn on and turn off the Track Changes. And then the other way you can do it is down here on your status bar. The very bottom of your screen is your status bar, and it may have a Track Changes option, which is telling me that currently Track Changes is off. But if I click this, now it says Track Changes is on. Now, the fact that that button appears on my status bar if I right click is because somebody asked it to be shown on the status bar by ticking this option here. If I take this tick off, it disappears. If I turn the tick on, it reappears. So this is another way to turn the Track Changes off and on. So I'm going to turn my Track Changes on, and I'm going to make some changes to this particular document. For example, I might decide that I want to get rid of the word imagined, so I'll double click it and I'll delete it. When I delete it, it says that there's a change by putting this change line in the outside border. And I'm going to add a word in its place. I'm not really seeing a lot of happening in this document, and this is because of the view I'm currently in. Now, when you look at the tracking group, there's a little view button here, which is simple markup. Now, I can change that by hitting the drop down and say, look, give me all markup. And when I ask for all markup, let me just get rid of this, I can see that Cathi Barker a few seconds ago deleted imagined, and I can see here Cathi Barker inserted envisioned. So all markup gives you a lot more information than maybe simple markup, and particularly more information than no markup. So that's like the final document. So I'm going to all markup again. I want to make another change, And I'm going to insert a couple of words here. And I might even decide that I want to do some formatting. So I might decide that this heading here, I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to make it larger, and I'm going to make it centered. And so my formatting is being tracked as well. So in here you can see balloons. These are what they call balloons. The balloons are showing the revisions including formatting. Yeah. And then I can stop tracking the changes. Now to stop tracking changes, again, any of the methods I just described earlier, I'm just going to go to review and I'm going to turn off my track changes. Now, we looked at the fact that there are a number of ways to view the document. Simple markup, not so detailed. All markup, very detailed. No markup would be the final document if you accepted all the changes. And then original is before we started doing anything, what did the original document look like? So that's useful, and I'll change it back to all markup. The other thing I mentioned briefly was the review pane. If we want to turn on the review pane, we can have a vertical or we can have a horizontal. If I choose horizontal, it appears at the bottom of my screen here, basically saying there's 5 revisions and moving me between those revisions. If I want a vertical review pane, I'll just hit this button and choose reviewing pane vertical. And now I can see those changes here and I can jump towards them. And again, I can just close it by turning this, hitting the close button, or clicking this button here and get rid of the reviewing pane. At the end of the day, you have to accept or reject changes. Now before you do that, you may want to print the track changes, and that's an option as well. If I went to File and Print, I can actually see that it would print the track changes. If I wanted to print the original document, then I would have changed to the View, Original, and then I would have gone Print. So choose the view you want to print, whether that be Final, Original, or Markup, Final being no markup. Choose the view you want and then go Print, and it'll print the view that you've got visible. As far as moving between various track changes, you have got a next, and next, and next, and you can move to the next track change, and you can move to the previous track change using the next and previous buttons in the changes group. At the end of the day, you have to accept and move to each change, or accept all changes, and there is the option to accept all changes and stop tracking. So you can accept certain changes or all changes. You can also reject certain changes or all changes. For example, I might decide to select this first line here and accept what was done here. So if I go to the accept, I can accept this change, and everything in that selected vicinity will be accepted. Here I might decide to reject. So I'll select this line here by clicking once to the left, and I'll reject the change. And if I select this line here, I'll accept the change. And lastly, it's just asking me, did you want to accept the fact that this was centered? And I will accept it. And it's basically telling me there aren't any comments or track changes left in this document. So I've accepted and rejected the changes made to this document.